Zeiss, what's the temperature like in Toronto?
Well, thanks for having me on, guys. I thought, listening to the fan base here, that once Mitch Marner left town, everything was going to be honky dory. Wasn't he the problem? I thought it was a ridiculous narrative from the beginning, and now he's in Vegas, taking Mallard out for dinner every night. I'm sure you walk his dog, you babysit for him. I'm sure all that stuff is going on.
Zeus is great. Zeus is so well behaved.
And, maybe some of us that thought that was a ridiculous narrative now, when you look at the guys that are left, hey, if Craig Berube, for some reason, something happens with him, then you got to look at Austin Matthews, William Nylander, Morgan Riley. Those three guys, they're mowing through coaches. Maybe it's not the coaches. And it's been really, really, I'll tell you what the most distressing thing is. Last year, they followed his blueprint, and up until they hit the juggernaut of Florida, north-south, forecheck, keep it simple, it worked.
Yeah.
They're not listening to him. They don't play that way. Their forecheck is awful. And they brought in guys like, Dakota Joshua. I like him as a person. He's come back from cancer. We all know that. He just hasn't been the player that they're looking for. Michelli has shown signs, but he's had issues. And it all comes back, guys, to why aren't they listening to the coach? And, hey, how many coaches do you have to go through where you understand maybe it's not the coach and maybe it wasn't Mitch Marner?
So my premise of my conversation on Vegas radio yesterday, Mike, was they're not listening to Craig Berube, and you obviously are agreeing with me that that is a major issue.
Yeah.
So there you go, Darren.
But if Berube has lost the room after a year and a month and a half, so
what's that say?
The players have some serious reflecting to do here.
Yeah.
They're not going to listen to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's pretty. It looks like that, Darren. It does not look healthy.
Are you sure it's not Mitch's fault?
Well, we can blame Mitch. But
guys, there was actually, and John knows this from being here in Southern Ontario, there was actually a school of thought, certainly not by me, but people that follow the game closely that thought, Mitch is gone, but they have more money, they have more depth. Well, what's depth going to do if you don't have the same kind of quality? And it's just, if you bring in guys, they wanted to get bigger, they wanted to be better on the forecheck. Well, if you're not playing the dump and chase that makes that effective, if you're not cycling the puck, if you're still trying to do this cutesy east-west stuff in the neutral zone and get caught in transition at the other team's blue line, then what was the sense of bringing these guys in if you're not going to play that way?
Let me ask you this: how much do they miss Lane Lambert?
I think you have a good case there. He was definitely somebody that brought structure to their game. But John, I'm at the point now. This is on the players. You can only go so far before, we've gone through these coaches. They've gone through a couple general managers now. Well, you go through this cycle over and over and over again, wash, rinse, repeat, and it's going to have to come on the players. And, you saw last night, the second goal last night by the Kings, they had 3 chances before the puck went in, right close in front of Dennis Hildeby. He makes one save, comes back out. They shoot again. He makes another save, comes right back out. They put the third one in. Willie Nylander's there on a flyby. He goes to the bench. Berube gives him a tongue lashing. After the game, we asked him about that, and he said, I thought Nylander was hurt. Now, we know he's protecting Nylander there. Here's the thing, guys, and I've said this about the Leafs for a long time. Now, with the cap going up, this is going to change, but say the last 6 or 7 years, every team has 3 or 4 guys that they pay a lot of money to, that they pay a big chunk. Maybe not how the Leafs did with Tavares and Nylander and Matthews and at the time Marner, but you're choosing to pay 2, 3, 4 guys way more than everybody else. You better be sure, if you're going to put that chunk of your salary cap towards those guys, that not only are they talented guys, because there's lots of talented guys in the league, but are these the guys that have the fire? Okay, we saw that when Tkachuk went to Florida, right, and the cultural change that he has. Let me ask you guys. I think Austin Matthews is a hell of a player, and he cares. I don't like the narrative.
Okay, so let me interrupt.
But does he have fire? Does he have fire? Does Nylander have fire?
But Austin does care. Mm-hmm. You believe Austin cares? I'm not being cheeky, but you think that there's a lot of concern from Austin, a lot of compete from Austin, a lot of fire from Austin?
Okay, John, there's a difference between, how do I put it, not putting in 100% and what kind of type of person you are, okay? I just don't think that's in his DNA to have that fire. He's not Nathan McKinnon. He's not Sidney Crosby. But to that point, they couldn't get the C off John Tavares quick enough and put it on this kid.
Yeah.
Okay? And I still do believe that when you put the C on a guy, okay, that still matters. I just don't think it's in his DNA. And William Nylander is one of the most skilled players in this league. But all three of us, I mean, going back to when Darren was in Toronto covering stuff in Southern Ontario.
You mean a huge star?
Yeah,
a huge star.
But we've seen this. I mean, he marches to his own drummer.
Yep.
And they still went out and paid them. So you guys tell me, even when they had Mitch and Austin and Willie, who's the alpha there?
Well, Mitch was the alpha. Mitch was the alpha. But
nobody in this town was willing to agree to that. They didn't think that. He should have been the first guy that they signed. But that's just my opinion, and it's not a popular one in this town.
We're gonna have security at your house.
Is Austin Matthews playing well enough when he was healthy? I realize he's out right now, but was he pulling his end? I'm not talking about a 200-foot game.
No.
But was he doing his job?
Listen, Austin Matthews, to be good and be effective, has to be scoring.
Yes.
So obviously, so the obvious answer was he wasn't at the top of his game.
No, he was scoring a bit. My point with him is, does he make the guys around him better? Okay? We've seen over the past, and it's easy to use Sidney Crosby as an example, but Sidney Crosby, we've seen where he goes up to management and said, you know what? Put me with a couple of lesser wingers, or maybe younger wingers, so we can spread out, over the lines, have a deeper team. And he makes those guys better. Does Austin Matthews make the guys around him better? I mean, this season we're seeing it like a kid like Matthew Nyes. I think that he is an ascending player. But even when he was playing with Austin, he wasn't playing that great either. And I think that is something everybody looked at Austin through a certain lens, and rightly so. From when he came into the league, I mean, he's a unicorn in a lot of ways because of his size, because of his shot. But I had a general manager ask me on Hall of Fame weekend, because they were all in for the GM meetings. He watched the first period and he said, and Matthews scored in this particular game. He goes, but does he really dominate a shift like Nathan McKinnon does, like Connor McDavid does? Hey, like Connor Bedard has in a couple of games this week.
Mm-hmm.
And you just don't see that. And I think there has to be a sobering reality among a lot of fans to understand that. And William Nylander is who he is. But when your best players, you don't have an alpha among them, I think that's an issue.